Creepy Scottish ghost encounter. I don't believe in ghosts, but I don't have any other explanation for this. I don't believe in ghosts. If I see someone I don't know and trust, like on TV for example, telling a ghost story, I struggle to believe them. That being said, I had an experience when I was around 10 years old that I'm going to share today. This was in approximately 2003. My friend and I were walking to football training. I live in a quiet countryside town in Scotland. To get to the football training we would walk past the tennis courts as it saved a lot of time. The tennis courts are located at the bottom of a wide open grassy area. Next to the tennis courts is a sloped section of ground that runs the length of the court. I think it's meant to be the stand where people can sit/stand and watch. It's sort of like a grassy pyramid that's been stretched out in length. There is a path that leads down to the stand and just stops. On the far side of the stand is a small wooded area. We were on the path walking toward the tennis courts. It was broad daylight. No one is around. The wooded area briefly falls out of view as the path is on a slight decline. We walk up the hill of the stand onto the main body of it and there is a woman standing at the trees. She is stood with her hands clasped in front of her, looking directly at us. My friend and I are walking toward her. She is stood between a fence and a small stream that's guarded by a waist-height fence. We walk the length of the court, now less than 10 meters from her. She hasn't moved. She's just continued to stand and stare. We turn at the bottom of the court now with our back to her. We haven't said a word but we looked at each other and ran. The woman was gray in appearance but wasn't transparent or anything. She looked like a real person, but she was a sort of uniform color. Washed out looking. Clothes included. It's quite hard to describe. She didn't move once. And I don't mean she just stood still. She didn't move, at all. She was three-dimensional, but it was like she was a cutout that had been placed there. My first thought wasn't OMG it's a ghost, only afterward did we realize what might have just happened. There is nowhere this woman could have came from. There are 2-meter fences blocking everywhere apart from the far side entrance to the tennis court and the approach we used to get there. The far side entrance line of sight is never broken. The stand only obscures a part of the wooded section for a moment. She simply was not there. We broke line of sight for 5 to 10 seconds, and there she was. The village I live in is small. I had never seen this person before, and I haven't seen her since. For a good 10 years, that area would terrify me at night. I would hug the fence until I had to turn my back to the area we saw her, at which point I would run. Doesn't matter how muddy the grass was, it was genuinely too frightening to care about the condition of my shoes. I don't know how to explain this. I tell people I don't believe in ghosts if they ask, but I always offer the story as a consolation. Looking back on it I wish I spent more time looking at her. As it was happening, despite not realizing what I was potentially looking at, the unbroken eye contact was unsettling. It made it difficult to look at her. That friend and I don't speak anymore, we haven't for around 15 years. But I bumped into him in the town about 4 years ago. The first question I asked him once the greetings were over and done with was, "Remember we saw that ghost?" He said, "I do mate, I."